what's been playing out in Central Africa. And our regular commentator on these issues is geopolitical analyst Aaron Nga'mbi. Aaron, always good to talk to you. How you doing, my brother?
Good to talk to you, Peter, and good to be on the program again.
All right, so let's start in the DRC, which looks like it's formed an advisory council of sorts to peruse war crimes justice. Take us through that.
Yeah, so what we are seeing in the DRC now is an initiative by the government with the help of some of the most reputable international lawyers from Europe, from the United States, to establish an advisory council that would try to prosecute atrocities that mostly have happened in the eastern part of the DR Congo, because we know that that's been the most conflicted region, and a lot of atrocities and crimes have been committed. So this advisory council will serve with two other institutions within government to try and, for lack of a better term, bring to book people that have committed war crimes and any sort of injustice.
All right, let's take a look at this as well now. The World Health Organization warning that the Ebola outbreak in the DRC may be worse than the official numbers. In fact, I think I heard that they say it could be between 4 and 7 times higher than the numbers being reported, which is pretty scary.
Yeah, so the World Health Organization has confirmed that at least 1,982 cases have been recorded, and out of that, we are looking at 719 deaths so far. But yet, it seems like there's a problem with recording accurately the numbers of cases and the deaths. So it is alleged that actually these numbers are significantly lower than they should be, which is very, very scary, because if that is the case, then you're looking at a serious crisis.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty frightening, actually, because that means the neighboring borders are probably also at a greater risk than they think or believe at the moment.
Absolutely. Remember, this is a specific strain of virus that is attributed to Uganda. And so there are cases in Uganda, there are cases in Rwanda, there are cases in some other surrounding countries that neighbor the DR Congo. So this is a very scary situation, because we've come to understand that the World Health Organization is reporting that actually the numbers that they have on paper are much, much lower. Now, the unfortunate part also is that you have health workers, healthcare workers, that threatening to go on strike because they've gone for a longer period of time without pay. In fact, it is estimated that they've gone for almost 3 months working for no pay. And the Minister of Health actually acknowledges that this is true, and says that there have been delayments of payments, but this is due to some organizational issues.
Yeah, the US not taking any chances whatsoever. And of course, that controversy about setting up its own hospital, I think it was in Kenya. But also now we're finding that the US very concerned about people coming from the DRC in particular. They're not allowed to come home directly from the DRC. They have to spend at least 21 days in a third country, which seems unfair, doesn't it? That the third country is the one that gets exposed before Americans are allowed to come home.
Yeah, this administration in Washington is very peculiar. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this before. It is true that they were trying to establish some sort of isolation hub or place in Kenya, and the Kenyan government was actually going to cooperate and work with Americans to see that, and they looked at it as a way of trying to scale down the infection rate. But unfortunately, the people was protested, and the government was bent to actually arm twist it to reverse its course. But yes, so the Americans who've been to the Congo and in fact even Uganda and further places where there's been cases of Ebola, unfortunately have to go to another place before coming back home because the administration thinks that there might be a spread of they might carry a virus and spread it out in the US.
Let's go to Cameroon now. We believe that the country's been given a financial boost for its agro industrial development, and that's from the African Development Bank. Could this be significant?
Yeah, we're looking at almost 81.2 million pounds um, for this kind of financing. And definitely it is something that will go towards the construction of a multi-purpose hillside dam and other facilities that Cameroon one has been trying to set up. So this is definitely a lot of money, and if it's apportioned appropriately, appropriately to what it's intended to do, it can make some significant changes in the lives of some people. But you and I, Peter, know that sometimes that's not the case with these governments in Africa.
Yeah, and I was listening to you very carefully when you said that if it ends up where it's supposed to go, that's the key part of that, isn't it?
Yeah, because this project that they are pumping money into is supposed to have everything to do with climate adaptation measures, such as installation of hydrometeorological stations, tree planting, and also the creation of a community forest to strengthen environmental sustainability and improve the communities in terms of resilience towards climate-related shocks. So this is a package, a whole package that could transform a community, a village, a country. But sometimes we have too much bureaucracies in this government, and then when we fall short, and then money is looted or excuses are made. But this is definitely a right step in the right direction for Cameroon and its ecosystems.
Let's go to Angola now. It's decided to cut its repo rate. That's the interest rate that the central bank charges governments to a 5 year low. What does that tell us about what's happening in Angola? Is the economy and things looking up there?
Well, for the longest time here, we've discussed how this Angola has been in a desperate situation. We saw protests sometime last year, towards the end of last year, and maybe even early this year. And so, with the hike in fuel prices and what's going on in the Middle East, one would have thought that Angola would be on the verge of almost collapse because most of its industry it's crude oil, even though they're trying to diversify now. But what we're seeing with the central bank is very interesting because we're seeing that the country and the government there they're slashing this interest rates and they bring that down. But interestingly, also the inflation rate has been going down. So in some places, unfortunately, you see the economics look well, the economic indicators are good on the books, but yet it doesn't trickle down to the ordinary people. But and that usually sometimes is the disparity between the rising inflation or inflation coming down, but the interest rates still remain the same. This is the classic case that we see in Zambia, for example. We have an inflation rate that is low at 6 point something percent, and it's been going down for the last 3, 4 years, but the interest rates remain very high. If you're to get a loan from the bank, you have to pay back almost 25 to 30% interest rate. So Angola is onto something here. We see that the interest rates are going down, inflation is going down. So we only yet to see if the prices of commodities will go down. If that goes down, then that's a real indicator. That's a real show that the economy is regaining its strength again.
There's some people that should be gaining from the misfortunes of the Middle East, Iran versus the US. Angola being an oil producer, shouldn't we be seeing revenues shoot through the sky at the minute, especially given that the war's back on?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and to answer that, most people would say this is expectant. But again, when it comes to global trade, when it comes to bilateral and multilateral relations and cooperation and trade, it doesn't always go like that. I'll give you an example of the Africa Free Trade Agreement that should have been signed a long time ago, and that would have enabled goods to move from one African country to another without restrictions or some sort of duty or import tax and things like that. But that hasn't happened because the United States has a lot of interest in that. The United States knows that an Africa that trades with itself is detrimental for them, because then they don't get goods from Africa at the rate that they want. And so they have tried very hard to make that almost impossible to work. So even with the oil industry, I don't think that it is as easy that Angola just benefits because there's an issue in the Strait of Hormuz. But I think it goes down to what other constraints are there, what other trade issues are there, agreements and bilateral and multilateral trade issues.
My brother, it's been good talking to you as always. Have a great week in between, and we'll chat next week, Thursday.
We're talking to Peter. We'll see you next week.
Thanks so much, my brother. That's Aaron Nga'mbi, geopolitical analyst, making sense of Central Africa for us. And that brings the time to 6:30 Central African time. Let's catch you up with the news headlines. Good morning, Matapelo Mahape.
SABC News.